Hello and welcome to a new episode of Window into the Amherst Regional Public Schools. My name is Michael Morris, I'm the Interim Superintendent. And today we'll be meeting with two new educators, one who's new to our district and another one who's been in our district a while but in a new role. And I'm very excited to introduce them to the larger community. So today you'll be meeting D.W. McCraven, who is our new Restorative Intervention Specialist at the high school. It's a new position, as you'll find out a little later in the interview. And we're also going to be meeting with Tim Sheehan, who will be our Curriculum Coordinator this year after a long career as an elementary teacher at Fort River School. So welcome to you both. Thank you for being here. I know the community is always very excited to see the educators in their buildings, and particularly folks who are new to our district or in new roles. So I really appreciate you coming on and introducing yourself, or in some ways reintroducing yourselves to the community, as both of you have longer histories in Amherst than just this year. And so I'll start with DW, if you wouldn't mind. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what interested you in becoming an educator and working with children?
Well, I mean, I began playing basketball, and I actually played for Ron Moyer, one of the coaches here. Shout out to Amherst women's basketball or girls basketball. But I started there, and actually working with him was the first time I had an experience of teaching young people. And then from there, I really got involved in theater, which was another group out here that's now defunct, but I was part of Project 2050. And that really helped grow my perspective on community and identity and what that meant to really feel empowered by the community, and also understanding and recognizing what it feels like not to be disenfranchised, or to be without. And from those experiences, that really, really kind of generated kind of me wanting to really get into doing this work. So I guess that propelled me doing it, and so I've been doing it for 17 years, and I haven't stopped since.
It's so wonderful when we welcome back graduates of our schools who have their own experiences in our district, and now we're on the other side of the coin, so to speak. So we appreciate you having that experience and coming back to us. Tim, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and experience within the district, as you're not new to our district, but also what interested you in becoming an educator and working with children in the first place.
I've been in Amherst since 1999 and have taught first, second, and fourth grade at Fort River School and enjoyed it for all of these years. And how did I get into education? It's an interesting question. When I was in college, during a winter break, when I was at home, I had put my application in to substitute teach because it was a good winter break job. And I grew up in Holyoke, and I ended up subbing in a school that my former elementary principal was the principal of. And there was a little boy in kindergarten who had broken his leg, I think. Yeah, it was broken his leg. And so they just assigned me as sort of a one-to-one para for the 3 weeks that I was home. So instead of the usual subbing experience where you change classes every day, I ended up sort of housed in a classroom and getting to see a teacher in action. And that really turned my interest toward teaching.
Yeah, thank you very much. And so I'll stay with Tim. What attracted you to, once you kind of got your degree, what attracted you to come to the Amherst Public Schools? And also what has attracted you to stay for as long as you've stayed within our district?
I went to UMass, and so I had some experience in the Amherst schools doing student teaching, and knew that they were good schools. And one thing that was very apparent then and still is in Amherst is the community's devotion and the way that they hold public education as something that's important. It's valued in this community. Every community values education, but in Amherst you can tell even more so. And that's important as an educator to know that what you do every day is important to the schools, to the community, and they will support the schools. And also that in Amherst, in the schools and in the community at large, we don't shy away from tackling controversial issues either. And so there's a lot of that in the world right now. And it's something that there are ongoing discussions. They're not easy, but they're something that we do. And I think that's valuable when we're talking about bringing up children.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tim. Similarly, DW, for you, what attracted you to come back to the Amherst Regional Public Schools and the high school where you were a student? What was it that drew your interest into returning in a different role?
I'm going to be honest, because it's the only thing I know how to be. I'm going to be real and say that I never wanted to come back to Amherst High
Yeah.
because I didn't think my skill set applied to the demographic after I'd been working in Chicago. So I was really leaning towards the Springfield school system because I felt like I would be able to ease in there and it'd be less of a culture shock per se. But also I haven't been here, so I don't really know if I would be this culture shock kind of situation. But I think what really made me feel like, okay, I can do this was the interview that I had for this position. And more specifically, a person sitting in the room saying to me that we happen to be talking about real live issues that are happening right now, which we can't not talk about if we're doing what the mission is of the high school in general. And this woman said to me, and she happened to be, she wasn't brown, she was white, and she said to me, I understand that it's not your responsibility to inform me about what's happening. It's my responsibility to get the information. And that to me really showed me how progressive some people are thinking and how people want that change to happen. And they understand that don't look at me for the answers because it's not my job to find the answers for you. You need to seek those answers out and then let's be accomplices in getting this work done together. And so that's really what, okay, I can do this. This is going to be a good fit for me.
Thank you. Staying with that theme for DW, for people who may not be educators who are watching, can you describe a bit about the role? It's a new role, so I know it's an evolving role, but what are some of the goals or hopes that you have for the role this year?
And like you said, it's a new role and it's an evolving role, and I think what's important, it's a community role. And at least that's how I see it, and that's how I've been made to see it by specifically being in an interview room and community members speaking to me, and people really seem to be invested in this particular position. I'm by no means a hero, you know, and I'm only here because there's a need, is what I'm understanding, for culture and climate change. Being able to address students in a way that they feel safe, and as well as staff members, they feel like they're safely communicating in a way where they're getting over the hiccups, you know, and then we're acknowledging the truth about the situation is that we come from all these different backgrounds, and that's real. And how do we address, we're uncomfortable at times, how do we address that and how do we move on in spaces where we're not denying the truth about what's happening? So I guess that's really where I'm at. I'm interested in really integrating myself in the community, whether that be just the school community, the outside community, and really understanding where the lapse of communication is and how figuring out ways to bridge that gap.
Great. Thank you very much. Tim, I know it's also a new role that you're in this year, but if you could describe a little bit about it, and then what are some of your hopes for this year?
So I'll be filling the role of K through 12 Curriculum Coordinator, and the way I see that role is to, number one, to support the education that's happening in the schools. So primarily through the educators, the teachers and paraprofessionals who are working with the students, and to do what I can to make sure that they can do their jobs. I'm very excited about this. I have a lot of experience as an elementary teacher, and so I can view what I think needs to be done through that lens. And I'm very excited about learning more about what happens in the 7 through 12 grade band, because there are incredible things happening there. And I know how elementary teachers help children to grow, and it'll be great to see the next piece of that. And so learning from the people who are doing the work will be very interesting.
Great, thank you. What are some of your hopes for, your role won't primarily be directly working with students, but what do you hope that kind of your leadership in the curriculum domain, what are you hoping that the impact that students will feel from the work that you do on a day-to-day basis?
I'm hoping, number one, that our students enjoy learning, because I think that's the first and sometimes biggest hurdle to get past, is so that children enjoy going to school. And taking on the sometimes difficult task of learning across all the subject areas. So what we might call core subject areas, math, reading, writing, science, social studies, and also everything else that is important and enriches their learning, art, music, PE, technology, and so forth. And I hope that they can come out as well-rounded students who can work in the world. And pursue whatever it is they want to pursue at that point, in terms of higher education and jobs and so forth. Similarly,
DW, I know you're not only are you in a new role, but it's truly a new role to be in. But what are some of your hopes for particularly your direct work with students? You spoke a bit about the community piece, which is critical, but some of the role also be directly working with students. And based on your experience in Chicago, other places, what are you hoping that the shifts will be for the student experience?
I'm hoping that students feel empowered, and they feel by way of accountability, right? So they're feeling loved, and for love for me looks tough at times, and it's soft, it's hard, and it's soft, and then being able to create that balance and for students to understand, look, I love you, and I'm going to be tough because I love you, and this is what it looks like, and being able to create those fine lines so students, and I also say and staff understand, because the communication is so essential between the two. So just really creating, I'm not going to say boundaries, yes, but really just creating comfortable spaces for people where people feel like they're understanding the language, the way that we're working as a community, and they feel like they're a piece of it. Does that answer?
It does. Okay. It does. And actually, the next question segues to something that you raised earlier, DW, which is just trying to think about a favorite teacher or educator that you had in your experience, and things that you draw from them in your own work. You don't have to stay with the person you mentioned before, but I always think as educators, one of the things that is a gift is that we've had, hopefully, some really good examples of what it means to be an educator and what it means to support student learning when we were students, and what can we draw from that experience to promote our own work.
I think there are many people, and the reason why I say that is because in my life, like they say, it takes a village to raise a child. In my life, there are many people who stepped in and contributed to my success by understanding what I had, the promise that I had, and not seeing me as a at-risk person, but at promise, young person. For all those people who saw me as at promise, this is the result. So I always carry those people with me, whether it had been a teacher, whether it had been a staff member that said hello to me in the morning and greeted me every morning and acknowledged that I exist and I'm a person and I deserve to be, I deserve to be present. So I think there's many teachers that I can point out, many mentors that I can point out, but I think I just want to leave that to the field because there's so many people who cared enough to say, you know what, we're gonna push you along a little bit more because we see that you're having a little trouble here. Let's help you over this hurdle.
Yeah, great, thank you. Tim?
That's a great question. I mean, as someone who grew up to be a teacher, I can still name probably almost all of the teachers I had in school. But I do think of one, my 7th grade social studies teacher. Her name was Miss Breton. and I can remember, I can't tell you so much the curriculum that we learned in class, but I can remember her sharing her experiences with us. I distinctly remember she had been in the Peace Corps for a couple of years at some point in her life, and she would tie in experiences that she had living in other parts of the world and working with different people, and she had boxes full of artifacts that she would bring in and show us, and it's just, I have so many vivid memories about that. And I mean, and as kids, also realizing, and it's kind of funny that like you could ask a question and get her off track from a lesson to discuss things, but in a way I learned so much from those discussions, and I'm sure she knew that too. And that was part of the master plan.
Right.
So I mean, it goes to show the kinds of things that you remember from your learning experiences, is that connection.
Yeah, and I think just connecting both of your comments, that relationships that are built between educators and students, and how those relationships can be infused with curricular aspects that promote growth and learning of students. That's really what we're trying to promote throughout our district in all domains. So even though your roles are very different, I think there is that common piece of what we're trying to do as an education system, and the experiences and relationships we're trying to provide for our students. So I appreciate both of you saying that.
I was just going to say, I was relating the two as well, because when you're talking about curriculum, how my job would be engaged with that in a sense of how you want your curriculum to sit, and how it's open for students who like having this multimodal, inclusive type of approach, which I think is really nice to hear that that's what you're seeking, because I think also when we talk about students who are coming from different backgrounds and different cultural essences or places, having one direct way to teach curriculum has never really benefited.
Right.
You know, so I'm
Right.
just
Yeah.
acknowledging that. Oh, we,
Yeah, I
we
agree.
could do some work. You know.
Absolutely. That's the idea, right? Collaboration.
Mhm.
So we're up to the final question, and I wondered if there's anything else that either of you would like to share with the local community, you know, either about yourself, your background, your hopes, anything else that you'd like to share that I haven't asked about.
I think just generally, I mean, my own personal excitement for the school year that's coming.
Yeah.
I've been at work for almost 2 weeks now, and there's a lot of build up to it, and my role is different in a way that I'm not building up to the first day of school the way all of the teachers are, the way the principals are right now, but I can still feel the energy, and I'm just excited to see what I can do in this role as a new contribution to the school district.
Great, thank you.
I think I can agree. I'm excited in the sense that I'm excited to receive information from people. I'm just like, I feel like I have this mental Rolodex that's just opening, ready to be filled with these pages of what people have to say, and just take this information and then be able to go to work.
Well, I'll just share from my own personal lens that I'm really excited about both of you being present and being part of our district. Tim, we've known each other quite a while. We both taught together at Fort River, and I'm thrilled that you're in this role, and I know many people agree with me about that. And I know DW, we haven't known each other very long, but I have had some connection to the process that ended up with your hire. And I think one of the things that's really exciting, we are filming this about a week before the school year. People may see it afterwards, but I want to say that out loud, is that we have so much new energy, and even people who, Tim, you've been in the district, but you're in a new role, and I think people are feeling that, and I'm feeling that, and it makes me really optimistic, hopeful, and excited about the school year, that we have kind of the good things that the district's been doing for a long time and continue to evolve, and then we have people in new roles and new positions and new to our district who are going to bring our district in a really exciting, positive direction moving forward. So I thank both of you for your presence, for willing to step into these wonderful but challenging roles that both of you are taking, and for coming on here and introducing yourselves to the community. And I'd like to thank the community too for your interest and support, as both Tim and DW said, in our school district. And I hope that you've enjoyed being able to get to meet DW and Tim, and you'll see them in the hallways of our schools and be able to connect with them throughout the year. And thank you so much for watching.